Welcome to a new episode of Bitcoin versus S&P 500 versus cash. And this week, Bitcoin kept digging. You can feel it still wants to go lower. That shows up in the portfolio's performance. You see the Bitcoin price here in blue. Here you have the S&P 500 volatile but doing the job. And for now, it's the S&P 500 that leads this portfolio's performance. And then we've got cash, which little by little is quietly making progress with the nice compounding effect we want to see, especially right now with interest rates making cash work in a pretty attractive way. I think we're starting to see signs of a market top. Recently, NVIDIA published results. NVIDIA reported an impressive increase, truly exceptional results, and yet, right after earnings, the stock price actually dipped a little. That's a sign. When expectations are so high that even exceptional results feel like a disappointment, you know something's off. And there are other things that make me think we're near a market top. Take this. There's a company called Ethereum, a mix of Ethereum and Godzilla. This company used to be Life Sciences Corp, so it was in biotech. Then suddenly, overnight, they say, all right, forget biotech. Now we're going to invest massively in Ethereum and try to build the largest Ethereum treasury possible. Why do I find that kind of crazy? Because a strategy like MicroStrategy with Bitcoin, that can make sense. Bitcoin has a capped supply, so buying it with leverage is at least logically consistent. But Ethereum doesn't have a capped supply. Sure, you can stake it, but in my view, this is just taking a concept that applies to Bitcoin and forcing it onto Ethereum just to surf the narrative and make money fast. Going from biotech to Ethereum treasury company, that's a big red flag for me. It doesn't mean the market can't keep running. Maybe we'll see even more wild stories, but to me, these are signals that we're not far from the top. That's why, in my stock picking portfolio, I've reduced my NVIDIA position, and I'll probably sell some puts to make the cash work. We'll talk more about that later. For now, I'm sticking to my cautious DCA. And this is definitely not the kind of market where I want to get carried away by hype like, oh wow, this biotech renamed itself Zilla, it's going to the moon, I'll get rich quick. You've got to be very careful with that kind of thing. So at this stage, I'm actually happy that Bitcoin is falling because we're still at the very beginning of this DCA. Now it's time to add some money into the positions. We'll start with $40 into Bitcoin to keep growing the position. It's nice that the price is getting cheaper. Then we'll put $40 into the S&P 500. The S&P keeps performing well, and that's exactly why I built this portfolio around these three pillars. Bitcoin as the speculative play, even though long-term chances are good, it performs very well. The S&P 500 as the best equity asset in the world, delivering historically 8 to 10% per year long-term. And then cash, which gives flexibility, lets you trigger little dividends when you need them. And that's why with a portfolio like this, you can feel safe. Speaking of cash, let's add another $40 to the platform. I think it's important to structure a portfolio this way. Yes, the long-term positions can be volatile. Bitcoin has way more volatility than the S&P 500, but the goal is not to be forced to sell at the wrong moment and get trapped by volatility. That's what cash comes in. Cash that works with a good yield. If you need money to pay bills, to enjoy life, that's the point. Investments shouldn't only be enjoyed at the end of your life. You want to enjoy them during your life. So this working cash position is pretty nice. Right now it's funny because it only made 46 cents. But hey, this DCA started only about 2 weeks ago. By the end of the year, I'll already be able to take a dividend big enough to buy myself a meal, and it'll accelerate from there. The principle here is we don't touch the capital, but we consume the interest as dividends to create breathing room and let the long-term investments grow. And that's it for this episode. Don't forget to like the video, drop a comment, and I'll see you very soon for the next step of this adventure, this coming Monday.